So just quickly look back on Saturday, through to the second round, and it's either Peterborough or Salford at home in the next one.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that was what it was all about. You know, when you look back in the cold light of day and you watch the game back, you know, we had some really, really good passages of play, and that's probably why we should have scored as many goals as I think we should have scored. You know, afterwards, what happens is you forget a little bit about what's gone on in the first half, because you forget, you know, we were a bit not quite at it in the second half, and I think that was because I do genuinely think the boys felt as though they could open them up pretty much every time we went forward, and I felt as though we created enough really, really good chances. And then it's natural to drop off things a little bit, and then, you know, with a goal, them getting the goal just before half time, I think when you think about potentially we could have had 5 by then the goal at half time, just before half time, sorry, you end up then going out, and all of a sudden if they get on the front foot a little bit, we've seen it at all the games at the weekend. If you just watch the games, how difficult they are. It doesn't matter when all you guys write about them being 70 places lower or 105 places lower that I've heard, and all the build up to all these FA Cup games, it hasn't mattered a jot. You know, because the lads that are playing in non-leagues, some of them are good enough to play in the Football League anyway. They just haven't had the right break at this moment in time, and, you know, hopefully 1 or 2 or 3 or even 4 of them get breaks in these games, because you've only got to look round at the upsets that happen, which, you know, when I spoke to you after the game, I think it was yourself, Ollie, that alluded to me that there had been, and then when you get back and you look at them, you think, you know, you would have never have bet that would have happened. So the games have been very, very difficult. And Saturday was no different. Do I think we deserve to win the game? Do I think that we've done enough to win the game? 100%.
And then obviously I know you mentioned after the game if it was update on Carl Winchester, how's he?
It'll be like last minute. And we just have to wait and see with that one where he is, whether he's ready enough or not.
And obviously you've mentioned before about the injury list and it keeps going, but the players that are here and that are playing, they keep stepping up and they keep filling in for roles, and just how proud of you that they are willing to just do that for the team.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think they do give towards each other, and I think whoever plays, wherever they play, I think they do give themselves up for the team, and I think that's what it's all about. I mean, you know, whether we win, lose, draw, whatever it is, isn't very often that the lads are not really all in. You know, I think they've been all in here, you know, from day one. So, yeah, I mean, they deserve a lot of credit for that. And like you say, sometimes what happens, it's the tiredness that potentially bothers you. You know, we've got some good players and we've got some robust players, and they go through games and they play games, and that's pretty much what we've hoped when we've recruited players. That's what we've hoped for anyway.
Yeah, what is it in the players that maybe think, I am tired, but they don't give in to that, they don't let that overtake them?
Well, a mental toughness. And secondly, you have to be lucky. You know, I mean, we've had a couple of scenarios this year where Dan Udoh hasn't been lucky in a moment, George Nurse hasn't been lucky in a moment, Julian Da Costa hasn't been lucky in a moment, Aidan O'Brien hasn't been lucky in a moment. So, you know, but I suppose what I'm not doing there is I'm listing your unlucky ones, but I'm not listing the lucky ones where we could have, you know, there's a few other players that I think about some of the challenges that have happened this season. We could have easily missed them for a long period of time. It happens, unfortunately, in football. You know, everything's better these days. The balls are lighter, the pitches are better, the speed of the game is quicker. So it's really, really important that you're strong and robust. And I think we've got that, but you're not going to have that all the time. You know, look at Dan and look at George. You know, after playing 50 odd games last year, you know, you would say that they were strong and they were robust. But then all of a sudden a couple of freak injuries, and then they're not strong and robust at all at this moment in time, are they? So I think it's also, you know, you've got to hope you get a little bit lucky.
And there's been adaptability in terms
I'm not quite sure what's going to happen with this rain.
It's coming and going, isn't it? Hopefully we'll miss it. But we've spoke about adaptability in terms of positions, but also in kind of styles of play and formation that they've adapted to different challenges. And there's a lot of different teams in this league as well that play different types of football.
Yeah, you have to. You have to try and play all of them. I mean, and there is different challenges that you'll be up against, and that's why you've got to try and put a team together that can adapt to those challenges. I think that you're going to need some people that are going to be more combative, better in the air than they might be at their feet, and you're going to have some people in certain areas that are going to have to be better with their feet than they have to be with their head. And because the one thing's for sure, you've got to make sure you defend your box in this division, because if you don't, you'll get exploited.
And it's a busy week and a different week, obviously playing on Wednesday. So how do you kind of navigate that in terms of training and preparation?
Just means we do another day's training. Basically, that's what happens. We do another day's training in prep for the game. But then the week sort of gets worse as it goes on. Really, it's not ideal. We would have rather have played on a Tuesday night and having it put back to a Wednesday. And when you think about their game being off, it could have easily been on Tuesday night. So we have nothing we can do about that. We just have to adjust our week accordingly. But it would have been better to have played on a Tuesday night for sure.
And how much more difficult is it for you, especially when you mentioned injured players, just trying to keep everyone, you don't want anyone getting injured in training or anything like that?
Well, it is difficult, but what you can't do is you can't not train. You can't not train as you want the boys to play. So I wouldn't say we adapt. I think there's moments in times where, certainly when you're playing smaller sided games, you have to be very mindful of, you can still press very aggressively in a small sided game without actually following through on a tackle. So I think there's probably been a little bit of adapting to that over the last maybe couple of weeks, because what we don't want is a training injury really. But that can happen as well. You can only roll the dice, and you got to hope that nothing really happens in them moments.
And then just finally looking forward to tomorrow's game. Oxford, who had a good couple of seasons but haven't done as well at the start of this season, but it's still a close league.
I know they're a good side. I won't worry too much about where they are in the league at the moment. I mean, at the end of the day, everybody says that we've had a good start, and we have had a good start, but if they beat us, they go above us. So all of a sudden, what does that constitute then? Does that mean that they've had a good start and we haven't? So I don't take a lot of notice about, I suppose, what gets written, what gets said. So I take all of that with a pinch of salt, really. They're a good team. I like Carl. I've known Carl a long time now. I like Carl, and I think he's done a really good job with Oxford. I think he's been there probably 4.5, 5 years now, mate. So I think he's done a good job there, and I think they've got some really, really good players, and and they'll obviously get our respect. We know that they're a good side, and we haven't managed to get one over them since I've been here. I think that gap has narrowed somewhat, but we don't know what this season will bring up. But we got a little bit closer last year, got done with a late penalty. So yeah, let's see if we've improved again.
Cheers.